The NFT market has reached a tipping point. We are seeing pump and dumps everywhere. That's slightly bearish, but we also have some major news that could be long-term bullish. In this video, we're going to dive into that, give our thoughts on the state of the NFT market. Before we get going, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing we say in this video is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. Do all of your own research before making any buying and selling decisions. We get stuff right, we get stuff wrong, i.e. me with my Momoguro pick last week. Got that one wrong, but you know what? We push forward. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a sunny day here, and so this is Hell Week. We got a Hell Week next week, but I want to see how the NFT market's doing today. So I'm all ears, excited to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I want to get into some news first before we touch on the main part of kind of like the bull and bear cases for the NFT market. So our last video was about Momoguro that dropped last week. It took place. I ended up buying a few on the secondary market, and it looks like I bought the top currently. It took a big dip down. Yesterday, the art revealed not super well received. The floor has remained stagnant. That being said, I still believe that this team is going to do something cool with this project. So I think taking a victory lap or taking I'll take the L in the short term. That's fine. I don't mind doing that. But people who are taking a victory lap saying that this thing is dead because of price action over 5 days, I think might be a little premature. You might look back and say that, oh, wow, these at 0.35 were a steal. Maybe you won't, but I still think that there's a lot of potential there. Some other projects I want to touch on briefly. We saw the mint for Mochaverse yesterday. This was from Animoca Brands. It was a very hard to get whitelist spot. If you got the whitelist, you received one for free, and then you could mint another one for 0.138. The floor on that is currently 1.5 ETH. So if you got one of those allow list spots, that is a massive win. Like that was very much a sell one of them to make a fat 10x profit, hold the other one to kind of see if it's a moonshot, or just sell both of them and move on with your life. But Mochaverse doing quite well. I've heard rumblings, it's not confirmed, that allow list was fairly rigged as far as like maybe some employees and some friends of and family and stuff. But either way, Animoca Brands is deep in the NFT world. I'm hoping that they do something cool with this. I am not going to be buying one of these for 1.5 ETH, that's for sure. But we can move on from there. One of the bigger pieces of news over the last few days is that CryptoPunks are now tradable on Blur in the form of wrapped CryptoPunks. So the floor has actually increased significantly since then. CryptoPunk floor was hanging out in the 62 to 63 ETH range for months. The running joke is that it's just been a stable coin. The floor is now just under 67, 66.9898 is the floor for wrapped CryptoPunks on Blur. So a nice little increase there. It's always been my belief, and I'm going to continue to hold this until I'm proven otherwise, that we are not back in an NFT bull market until CryptoPunks lead the way and see an increase in volume. It's just how it is. They are historically relevant. They're still the grail PFP to have. They're always going to be desirable. And until we see a meaningful increase in the floor on CryptoPunks, I think we're still in a bear market. Let's see, what else? We had the first Rolling Loud festival since the Loud Punks were released. Kevin, you're a youth, so I just have to assume that you go to festivals like this. But for those who don't know, Loud Punks were released by the Rolling Loud team. And if you hold a Loud Punk, you actually get VIP access for life with the proof of your punk holding, which is pretty cool. So this was the first Rolling Loud since the NFT was minted. And from everything that I've seen, talked to people, they had a great time. Everything went very smoothly with the process of, showing your Loud Punk, your proof of ownership there, being able to go to the VIP area, open bar, all of that good stuff if you're into it. And it seemed like people had a really good time. So I will say that is one positive thing recently around, IRL activations. And it definitely seemed like these people were talking to others at the show and we're kind of telling them like, hey, this is the deal. If you come to a lot of these, it's expensive up front, but long term, it's definitely worthwhile. If, like an old guy like me, not a chance. But if you're a younger person, you got your life ahead of you, like Kevin there, You could go out, get one of these loud punks. I think they're going for like 1.3 ETH right now, and have years and years of VIP access at loud punk shows for as long as you hold the NFT. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't think a lot of us have a lot of years ahead of us, considering the financial and economic outlook. I think everyone's gonna get slaughtered. But yeah, no, definitely that's pretty sweet. I didn't even know that was a thing for Rolling Loud. That's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Again, like you said, for a lot of people who are younger going to these festivals and stuff like that, that's a pretty cool in real life perk of owning one. It also shows that exclusivity of like being a part of something. I know that's probably a smart decision on. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot more festivals start doing this, because I know like Lollapalooza had like Solana NFTs, had no in real life
Co-
activation or anything like that,
Coachella
but
as well.
Coachella does it too. Yeah,
Coachella has an NFT. But yeah, the Loud Punks, their lifetime VIP passes to all future Rolling Loud festivals across the world. That's the description on OpenSea. The floor is only 1.24 ETH. So, especially if you have some friends
yeah,
who,
it's
in other parts of the world, or like you're able to, I'm not sure if you can like sell the VIP access for the ones you can't go to, but I think there's a lot of value there.
yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing. And I'm guessing that we're going to see more and more, whether it's festivals or sporting events, have that NFT integration into them.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's actually not that like it's pretty cheap. If you're looking at it and you're
Yep.
looking at actual value over time, that's a pretty good value.
Yep. And lastly, before we get into the bear v bull argument, is the Yuga Labs ordinals had their auction over the last 24 hours. It ended right around 23 hours ago. So this was a collection. There's 300 pieces in the collection. 12 were held back for Yuga to give out, to different museums, things like that, similar to what they've done with CryptoPunks. But there were 288 of these ordinals that were auctioned off. The way they did it is, there's a leaderboard going. You could see the prices of all of them. You could then go ahead and enter your bid. I'll go ahead and pull it up real quick so I can kind of show what exactly went on there. But it concluded yesterday. The top bid to get the number one minted ordinal went for 7.1159 Bitcoin. So that's about $160,000. Not too shabby. All in, it looks like Yuga brought in 16.5 million in BTC. So here's the auction page. This is what I think, this says one of 300. So I guess this is what number one is going to look like. But you can see people were able to place their bids, and you'll get minted whichever bid you fell in. The last one went for 2.25. So for a while there, the cheapest was around like 0.5. Some people were like, oh, it's going to go for less than one Bitcoin. No, in the last hour, things went crazy. It was tough because it wasn't a live thing. You had to obviously transact in Bitcoin. Those blocks take a while to update. But all in, like I said, you're bringing in 16.5 million. We saw the creator of Ordinals have some very strong words for Yuga. Not a fan of what they're doing. This guy also decided to like make personal attacks against people, which, if you're trying to get your point across about why this wasn't the right way to do it, his biggest problem with it was that it was, Bitcoin is all about decentralization and a trustless system. For this, you had to send Bitcoin in. If you did not have one of the winning bids, you had to wait for Yuga to send it back to you. And from everything that I've seen, every person who placed a bid that didn't end up winning got their Bitcoin back within, a couple hours. So that was the Ordinals creator's biggest complaint, was that, Yuga wasn't following any sort of like, they weren't innovating at all. And they're having this very, the system that you had to trust Yuga to send it back to you. I think that's a fair critique. But when you start personally attacking people because they disagree with you, then you kind of lose me there. So it is what it is. I don't have anything else to say on that part. We can move into the bullish versus bearish case, Kev.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I don't think Bitcoin is for NFTs, so that's all I got to say.
Yeah. I don't. To me, the people who I see having the loudest voices about ordinals and Bitcoin NFTs are some of the same people who have pumped other scams in the past, whether it was Bonk token, whether it was crypto skulls. So I personally do not trust any of it, and I have no interest in getting involved. And I'm just going to let my Bitcoin sit its happy ass in its cold storage and hopefully appreciate over time. So let's get into the bullish and bearish case for the NFT market right now. Like I said, we're at this inflection point. Let me give the bearish cases first. The current market activity is absolute dog shit. Let's just call it what it is. We're seeing, the large cap NFT projects, Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, CryptoPunks, Azukis, they've been just trading sideways for months. If you we had that little hiccup a few weeks ago with Bored Apes where Machi sold off a bunch. The floor recovered quickly, but it's been trading sideways ever since. But it's just been really nothing going on with those NFTs. It's all just kind of hanging out. If we look at the mid and small caps, they have just been either slowly or rapidly bleeding out over the last few months. We've seen it with Clone X under 5 ETH, Doodles under 6, Moonbirds right around 6. We got Pudgy Penguins under 6. Like there's so many of these that are in this like 4.5 to 6.5 ETH range, and I don't know where they're going to go. And I think that one or two of them will do some cool stuff and will take off. And I think the rest of them will slowly bleed and probably approach like a 1 ETH floor. If I had to bet on the ones that I think will take off over time, it's probably be something like a Pudgy Penguins. But if you look at something like Doodles or Clone X, I think those are going to continue to bleed out. I don't really have faith in the teams behind those. Now, there's a difference between the floor price going up and their ability to create hype and work toward mainstream adoption. Those are two different things. But I haven't seen a clear path towards them driving value back to the original project. With Clone X, all they've really gotten is the opportunity to buy more stuff from Artifact and Nike. With Doodles, they got the airdrop of the duplicator. They've gotten to go to some IRL events. And then the Doodles team sold a bunch of Genesis boxes. So, I'm not really seeing the ability to drive value back to the original project. Now, with something like Pudgy, on the other hand, they're doing a hell of a job of trying to build out the IP and the brand behind Pudgy Penguins, and therefore make the Pudgies and the little Pudgies desirable assets, right? Like they don't that ability and that cute IP and trying to tap into the more family friendly IP is incredibly important. And then like on the small cap side of things, we see Sappy Seals, we see Gutter Cats, we see all of these other things that are right around 1 ETH or a little bit less, just been bleeding for a while because there's not a whole lot going on. So right now it is 100% about you have to bet on the jockey, not the horse. Who is the team leading these projects? Are they capable of scaling a business? Because I got to stop saying projects because these are businesses. They have like, a roadmap is a business plan, plain and simple. So Kevin, stop yawning. And we need to be betting on the jockeys, not the horse. Okay. So there is that. I'm happy that you're there. We go. We got a little smile over there. So that is my case on the current state of the NFT market. Now, on the crypto side of things, this is where we can take the conversation a little bit more toward your wheelhouse. I'm under the belief that crypto market is going to take a big hit. And I know that you are too. And we saw it, last summer with the Three Arrows Capital and the Celsius debacle, when everything went down. The NFT market did not remain calm, and it went to hell in a handbasket. WETH sales were being accepted at incredibly high rates, and we're starting to see a little bit more of that now. I'm starting to see more and more sales taking place from wrapped ETH offers, and not as many from people buying directly from the marketplace.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I was yawning because I think that pretty much everything is just bearish right now. I don't see a world where
Kevin's like, I'm yawning because everything you're saying is boring me because we're all going to hell.
Well, no, you interest me very much, but what you have to say. But the point is, it's just I can't see a world in where we see consumer credit continue to rise. We have crypto most likely going to take a fat dump, like a bigger dump than I took this morning, and it's probably just it's probably going to be a point where we just get to like, I don't give a fuck about my my PFP. Like I need to survive. I need to go to 7-Eleven and get a big gulp. You know what I mean? I need to have some type of nutrition. But point is, I don't think you're going to be able to see a lot of people be able to carry some of these risk assets. Obviously, like for what it is, it's not something that you can transact for liquidity real fast at NFT. Obviously, what the market is, whatever the buyer is ready to buy at, what you're willing to sell at, that's going to be the most important thing. Crypto, obviously, can be a pretty fast transaction if you get onto an exchange. But the point is, I think a lot of people are going to lose their faith in some of these projects. And that's why maybe we're seeing a lot of bleeding out now. People are going to need this cash on hand. I'm still under the assumption that all the money that we saw pumped from COVID, all that stimulus money, is completely exiting all financial markets. I think that's going into the people who have huge wallets. And I think all the people who are excited about some of these projects, these NFTs, that think they're going to go to the moon, they bought the top of a lot of these projects, are the ones who are going to hurt the most. And they'll take a fat loss just to make sure that they have cash on hand, because they're going to need to pay certain bills, or they are over leveraged in positions that they probably shouldn't be in at all at this time. So that's my case for a bear case. I think it's just the overall macro view of traditional financial markets and crypto. And obviously, crypto markets are tied to the NFT market, like you said, as we saw in June last year. So it's definitely something that, I don't have a lot of faith or confidence in.
Yep. Now, two things I want to touch on there. Number one, when we talk about the macro outlook for crypto and how that, like, people are like, well, what does that really do for NFTs? First off, money is going to go down. You're going to see which of these teams has been smart with preserving their capital. Like, who has left their sales and their secondaries in ETH, and who has taken USDC and has been sitting and just waiting and has the runway to continue to build. Because there are a lot of very inexperienced people who create these NFTs who are not prepared to deal with this sort of economic situation, right? And I wouldn't really know what to do, and I'm no freaking genius, obviously, but that's a pretty scary view of it. Is like a lot of these people some were just in the right place at the right time. We're seeing it with projects like Gutter Cat Gang. Like, that thing has gone to hell in a handbasket. Like, the floor, I bought near the peak, but I also sold before things really got bad. So I only took like a small loss on it. But man, like that's one where they clearly were not ready to scale a business. They don't have the leadership. And I look at a team like Yuga, where I'm very grateful that the founders of Yuga realized early on that that was not their strength. And they brought in other people to handle the C-level roles right there. And they focus on what they were good at. And that, I think, is a big part of why they've continued to thrive. So, for me personally, I tip my hat to Blur, because they have given the opportunity for people to get liquid very quickly if they want to, make a fast exit from some of their positions, which I don't think is the worst idea in the world. Something I've considered for sure, like exiting most of my NFTs with the exception of my Yuga holdings, because I still believe in them long term. So I think it's something to consider. So that's enough of the bearish. I want to get into, because there are some good things happening.
Yeah.
One of the main, a few pieces of news just yesterday that came out that I think are very exciting. Number one, Amazon NFT Marketplace apparently is going live April 24th. This was, I wasn't sure if this was legit or not. I saw Yahoo Finance put out the story about it this morning as well. The news started to break yesterday, but I was kind of hesitant about talking about it because I didn't know if I trusted it, but it seems pretty legit to me. So Amazon NFT Marketplace, April 24th, is going to be on the Amazon website. They haven't said if it's going to say NFT Marketplace or digital, collectibles marketplace. I think probably digital collectibles is better because people hate the term NFTs, but that's going to be happening. Apparently, there are going to be 15 collections that will be available for sale at that time. And there's also going to be an emphasis on having those digital collectibles then translating to IRL goods that you can get through Amazon. So I'm not really sure. We don't know yet which collections are going to be on there. I have a feeling that as soon as we do find out which ones they are, those floors might pump a bit. Now, I could definitely understand people's skepticism here, because if you've been around for a little while, we got all the hype before about Coinbase NFT Marketplace is going to save NFTs. It's going to blow up. It's going to bring so many new people into it. Guess what? They're shutting that shit down. Coinbase NFT Marketplace is dead. So I would say that this is a potential bullish sign, but I wouldn't be hanging my hat too heavily on it. A piece of news that is not getting as much attention, but I think is even more important, is the integration of NFT art into traditional art. And yesterday, AI artist Claire Silver announced that the premiere for her upcoming collection, Love in the Fourth Turning, will be taking place at the Louvre. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like when you have one of the top, and the fact that it's AI art, we've seen auctions at like Sotheby's and Christie's for Beeple and Ferocious. I believe Claire Silver as well. Alpha Centauri Kid, like some of these really well-known X Copy, some of these really well-known NFT artists. The auction, like that's cool. But for a piece of her art to be premiering at the Louvre, I think is pretty damn spectacular.
Yeah, I mean that's no small venue. Obviously, that's internationally known. Uh,
Yep.
Especially, is this the first? This is by far the first NFT or anything like that that's been
I
presented.
believe this
Right?
is the first piece of digital art that is making its premiere at the Louvre. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. So that definitely shows that there is some adoption. Maybe people are starting
Yeah.
to recognize the value in digital art. It's still art regardless, whether it's created via pixels or if it's on a canvas. But I definitely think that I had no idea that this was happening. So that's
Yeah.
very impressive, I think.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. And that makes me bullish on NFT digital art in general. Like I think now is a really good time if you are in the NFT market, but you're not sure what to do. And if you want to deploy capital, like I said, I'm not telling anyone what to do with their money. I know what I'm doing with mine. Look at art. Look at some of these artists and buy stuff that you like. At times like this, I hold some digital art and I look at it and I'm like, that's cool. And it's mine. And I'm not like looking to panic sell anything, right? Like it can help you hold on to some of these pieces that, could potentially long term. There may not be a huge market for it now, but maybe in the future there is. These people who are continuing to, develop and become more widely known. So that is on the bullish side of things. If you want to add to the bullish side, we have Yuga continuing to put out their Trial of Jimmy the Monkey game. We'll have the next round of that in a few months. The summoning is next week, but I want to close it out today with what I think are kind of like some actionable items. So I'd mentioned, last June we saw a big fall off when crypto went to hell and NFTs went with it. Well, that was a amazing buying opportunity for a lot of people, myself included. It was at that time that I had cash on hand, I had ETH on hand, and I was able to pick up a CryptoPunk for significantly less than what they're going for now, like an above floor one that I actually really like, that I don't plan on selling anytime soon. So I think you're going to get those opportunities to pick up some high quality assets at a low price. So that's part of the actionable opportunity that's going to be coming up. The other actionable thing I think that you should be doing, and that I'm doing right now with all of my holdings, is I am really taking a look at who's running these projects, who's running these businesses, how are they communicating, what is their vision for the future. If you can talk to them through Discord, through Twitter, that's even better to kind of get a feel for what they're doing right now, how they're handling the market, what they're building. Is what they're saying realistic? Because it's really, anyone can talk a big game, but talk is cheap. And do they have the experience, the acumen, the team behind them to back that shit up and actually make it happen? So it's a good time to really like put your collection under a microscope and kind of maybe don't be afraid to sell some of it, even if it's down, right? Like don't like right now choosing to hold something purely because it's down from its all-time highs is a very high likelihood that you are chasing bad money with good, because anything that you sell now, even at a loss, is an opportunity to deploy into somewhere better or just to hold on to as cash, and you take a tax loss on it. So that's great. So those would be my big things right now, is like look for these opportunities to accumulate cash, put your collection under a microscope, do some analysis on it, see if you really want to hold on to these things, and use that liquidity provided by Blur to get out of some of these positions and have money to where you could buy a higher quality asset. It doesn't need to be something like a CryptoPunk. Maybe you want to buy a Doodle. Maybe you want to buy a Pudgy Penguin, but you don't have 5.5 ETH right now. Well, if you unloaded some of the other bullshit that's in your folder that you aren't going to use anytime soon, guess what? You could have cash on hand to buy a Pudgy Penguin, to buy a Mutant Ape, to get an Azuki, any number of things. So don't get married to these projects. People become too attached to this idea of community and digital identity and all this stuff. Well, guess what? None of these people are going to show up at your house and pay your bills for you. So don't be afraid to sell the goddamn NFTs. Okay. That's all I can really, that's my last word on it there. Kevin, I don't know if you have any other thoughts. Otherwise, we can just wrap it up.
No, I completely agree. I don't have any allegiance to any of my assets. Like, obviously, there's some I like more than others, but at the end of the day, it's not going to keep me warm. Obviously, you need cash, you need money on hand. You want to increase your wealth, your net worth. So this is a game where you're just using these things, they're tools. Use them to get to where you need to be, but also to protect yourself. So I completely agree. I think that's some great strategies that people could be taking right now. And yeah, I think it's also some really good cases for bullish sentiment, hopefully coming at some point. I don't think it's going to be soon. I think it'll be later on. But when it does come back, I think we finally see this good resets in the markets. I think there's going to be, an insane opportunity for a lot of people. So very excited. Also excited for this huge dump that's coming.
Yeah. Short term, definitely bearish. Long term, very bullish. So, be smart out there, everybody. Stay safe. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. Please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, share it out. If you have anyone who's interested in NFTs, active in the market, you think that we provided any decent insights, I'll take it. But that's going to do it for today. So for Kevin, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Have an awesome day, everybody. We will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.